This is Alex Murdaugh, a man who once had power, wealth, and respect. But behind that mask, he brutally murdered his own wife and son. Why? The court gave him life in prison. But here, we will show you the shocking clues. What pushed a father to become a cold-blooded killer, the hidden evidence, and how technology exposed his darkest secret. Stay with us because tonight, you'll witness a case so mysterious, so terrifying, it will shake your soul. This story begins in the heart of South Carolina's Low Country, in Colleton County, where oak trees drape with Spanish moss, where winding rivers hide quiet fishing spots, and where old money pulses through families that have held power for generations. One of those families, the Murdaughs. For decades they were nearly untouchable. Lawyers, prosecutors, influence woven deep into tradition, but power always casts a shadow, and on June 7, 2021, that shadow grew long enough to consume Maggie Murdaugh and her youngest son, Paul, shot dead on their own property. A family of prestige turned into ground zero of horror, scandal, and unanswered questions. It was a summer night, twilight fading into darkness. Maggie and Paul were at the Moselle property, filling out forms, planning, living the small routines of life. Paul had future plans. Maggie had work ahead. Nobody knew how fast that life would fracture. Gunshots shattered the calm. In minutes, 2 lives were gone, and in that world of privilege, the ripple no one expected had begun. But what followed wasn't clean. It was messy. It was inexplicable. Investigators soon found dim surveillance footage, grainy, unclear, a figure moving in the night. No face, just a shadow in the dark. The crime scene itself was haunting. Pools of blood, broken windows, signs of a struggle, Maggie's belongings scattered in the hallways. No confession, no motive, just silence. Because the Murdaugh case wasn't only about 2 murders, it was about the past. It was about the stories that came before, and the ones that followed. Stephen Smith, 2015, 19 years old, found dead on a rural road. Authorities called it a hit and run, but questions lingered. How did his truck break down that night near the Murdaugh property? Why were calls for help heard but never answered? Why did law enforcement appear slow, reluctant to investigate? Years later, deposition testimony surfaced. Stephen's cousin claimed he saw something suspicious that night. Court documents, scribbled notes, whispers of a cover-up. Then came the Mallory Beach crash, 2019. A boat ride turned tragedy. Mallory's life lost, tied once again to the Murdaugh circle. Investigators said alcohol was involved, negligence, lawsuits, and in the background, millions of dollars Alex allegedly siphoned from clients. Money meant for victims, disappearing into shadows. These weren't just side stories. They were threads woven into the night of June 7, 2021. Fresh details, buried evidence, pieces slipping through the cracks. A raincoat discovered tested for gunshot residue. Prosecutors claimed it tied Alex to the scene. Defense said it proved nothing. But the question lingered. Was it his? Was someone else hiding behind it? New surveillance audio, faint, distorted, dogs barking, a car door slamming, footsteps on gravel, all captured minutes before the shots. Background noise, or the sound of a killer, and then the financial web. Court filings revealed massive withdrawals. Emails between lawyers and clients showed panic. Missing funds, unpaid debts, crumbling trust. At the same time, Buster Murdaugh launched lawsuits against major studios, demanding they change the way the family was portrayed. Was it about reputation, or was it about silencing certain truths? Even with a conviction, motive remains blurred. Why would a father kill his own wife and son? Was it desperation? Money? A cover-up? Or something darker? A psychology never revealed to the public. The prosecution painted a man cornered by debt, shame, and scandal. The defense claimed nothing was proven. And in the middle, the haunting silence of Maggie and Paul's final night. Imagine believing in law, justice, and family protection, only to discover that the very name you trusted could hide betrayal. When you hear Maggie and Paul's story, do you remember their laughter? Their last moments on that porch? The silence before the footsteps? What if this had been your family, your town? Would you still believe power protects the innocent? March 2, 2023. Alex Murdaugh, guilty on all counts. Life in prison. The jury saw surveillance, witnesses, raincoat, and money trails. The puzzle came together, at least in the eyes of the law. But even with the conviction, questions remain. Unbroken pieces, motives never fully clear. Secrets buried beneath the moss and rivers of the Low Country. In the first part, we saw how the events of the murder night, suspicions, and the initial clues shook all of America. But the real explosive revelations came when the court and technology joined together. This second part will take you on that journey where the secrets of a powerful family were revealed one by one. And finally, the verdict was delivered. It was the start of 2023. Cameras were set inside the courtroom. Every news agency was present. On one side, Alex Murdaugh, a man who was once an influential lawyer and part of a powerful family, today standing as a criminal in the dock. On the other side, prosecutors who declared, "This case is not just about murder. It is a web woven with greed, lies, and power." The first shock came from phone records. On the day of the murders, Alex Murdaugh's mobile GPS signal suddenly shut down. At the very moment when gunshots were fired, his phone was silent. 20 minutes later, the phone turned back on, and the data showed he was driving his car at high speed in another direction. This didn't seem like a simple coincidence. It looked like an attempt to hide. Prosecutors presented another thing: gunpowder particles on clothing. A coat found at a relative's house of Alex was sent for forensic testing. The results showed it carried the same gunshot residue left after a weapon is fired. This made it difficult for the defense, because the question was, if he was innocent, why was this evidence so close to him? The most shocking moment of this case was when an audio was played in court. That audio was found on Paul's phone. Time, just minutes before the murders. In the audio, you could hear dogs barking, the sound of a car door closing, and most important, Alex Murdaugh's own voice. It was the moment when both the audience and the judge had the same question written on their faces. If he wasn't there, how was his voice recorded? Here, audio forensic technology revealed the truth that no verbal statement could ever hide. Prosecutors said the real motive of the murders was not just anger or an accident. It was a carefully thought-out move. Alex Murdaugh already faced allegations of financial fraud. He had stolen millions of dollars from his clients. The scandal was about to be exposed, and his entire career could collapse. Therefore, prosecutors said, he killed his wife and son to gain people's sympathy and to divert attention away from his financial scandal. There were also emotional moments in court. Maggie's sister said, "We want the truth to come out." Paul's friend said, he was only 22 years old, his life had just begun. These testimonies touched the hearts of people across America. After weeks of hearings in March 2023, the court delivered its verdict. Alex Murdaugh was found guilty of double murder, sentenced life imprisonment without parole. When the verdict came, silence spread across the courtroom. A member of one of America's most powerful families and now behind bars forever. Despite the verdict, many questions remain. The death of Stephen Smith, was it really an accident? Or another secret of the Murdaugh family? What is the real scale of the financial scandals? Were more people involved in this story? These questions still live in people's minds, and that is why this case is still viral. This case is a lesson. No matter how carefully a crime is planned, no matter how powerful or wealthy someone is, technology always reveals the truth. DNA fragments, audio recordings, GPS data, and forensic science all together revealed the reality that verbal statements could never show. This story isn't over. Many secrets are still left. If you want to know how this case is changing America's law and public trust, and which new revelations are still about to come, a comment. Next part, please.